Since my last video making a comparison about the UK and Canada, where I talked about things to consider when choosing where to relocate to, I've had a lot of DMs and people messaging me, asking me that, you know what, if I think that this PR isn't for me, where do you think is good for me to study? Do you think it's a good idea pursuing a degree in the United Kingdom, or do you think it's a good idea coming to Canada to school in Canada? So that's why in today's video, I am going to be talking about studying in Canada and studying in the UK. So it's not going to be like a comparison, so to say, but I'm just going to be, talking about the major difference between the two. And then you can then decide which one you see fit that is the best for you. Stay tuned. Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's your girl Suleeha here again today. And if you're new to my YouTube space, or if you're new to my channel, my name is Suleeha and I'm a Nigerian YouTuber residing in Ontario, Canada. My YouTube channel content spins from lifestyle, daily vlog, and of course the most important one, immigration talks, DIY immigration talks basically to Canada. And I might just widen my horizon and just talk about immigration to other countries as well. If you're a new subscriber, please, after watching my video, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and like, and also you can give a comment. And if you're a returning subscriber, I say welcome. You know how it is. Stay back and enjoy today's video as well. So where do I think I should go to? UK or Canada? UK or Canada? A lot of people just decide based on the fact that, am I going to consider because of the quality education? Am I going to consider because where is it as the top universities in the world? Or am I just basically going to consider because I just want to leave the country, or I'm looking for a way to migrate out of the country or out of wherever I am and to start a new life in a new country? Different factors determine why someone decides to go abroad to study. So the first thing I'm going to be talking about when it comes to studying in the UK or Canada is talking about top ranking universities globally and in the world. Moving on in the conversation, I will start by saying that the UK is home to over 100 public universities and several others that we might not know of, but I know that the UK, according to Times Higher Education, is home to over 100 public universities. And out of this 100, 11 are listed as part of the top 100 universities in the whole world in the UK. According to Times Higher Education, the University of Oxford is rated #1 in the world. So you see that quality education and topmost is coming out of the UK. And also, Canada consistently ranks impressively high as well globally. We have 10 universities in Canada making it to the top 300, with University of Toronto, University of British Columbia, and McGill University coming out of the top 30 schools in Canada, ranking the best globally as well. Also, away from the fact that picking the top universities, going to the top universities, we all know that these top universities cost a fortune, which has allowed students to take a quick look as well looking into neighborhoods such as Manchester, Birmingham, and of course Scotland as well. So out of all of this information or all of these schools, the best thing to do as a student looking to go ahead to do your master's is to go online, research as well. Oh, I don't have this much money to go to the top ranking schools. Where next can I go to? And I know that some schools teach some courses more than each other. It's just all about researching about which one is good and which one fits into your budget at the moment. So the next thing that I'm going to be talking about, that's the number 2 point that I'm going to be talking about considering studying in the UK and studying in Canada, is going to be the eligibility requirement. Both schools in Canada and schools in UK have similar conditions and requirements when it comes to eligibility requirement. Most schools in UK will tell you they require you to have your academic transcript ready, they require you to have your IELTS ready, and all other information that they would be requiring from you. Same as Canada as well. Some schools in Canada will tell you they require you to have your WAEC, or your GCSE or your undergraduate transcript as well before you apply to their school. Some will tell you that you also need IELTS or English proficiency test before you would be able to, get admission in that school. So some do request for IELTS and some schools do not request for IELTS. Some schools just tell you, you know what, if you were taught in your country back home in English language, all you just need to do is get us a proficiency letter from your school stating that you were taught in English language, and that is absolutely fine. I would also like to chip in here the major difference that I see when it comes to UK and when it comes to Canada as it regards to eligibility requirement. So in the UK, if you are going for an undergrad, it is strictly undergraduate study. All you just need to do is to get your WAEC, get your other things, and then go to the school. For your master's degree, all you need is your undergraduate transcript and any other requirement that the school requires from you. Now, coming to Canada, the major difference that I see as it regards to eligibility requirements is that in Canada, there are some university colleges that you go to, and you can also proceed to go for your master's in a university. So the difference that I see in this is that sometimes you might have a degree already from your own country, or you have a degree wherever it is that you studied your first degree from. And coming to Canada, you can decide to say that, you know what, I just want to come and do a diploma. I just want to come and get a certification program in this course. And all you probably just need to do is to get your WAEC certificate. And that, is a major difference for me. The UK does not have the option of exploring. If you do not have a degree, all you just need to go for is a master's degree, or you can go for some top-up programs that are not up to 1 year. But in Canada here, you can do a full 1-year course, a 2-semester course that is totally does not require you to have your undergraduate transcript. All you just need is your WAEC. So you have people that are scared that, I want to go to the UK, but I've not gone to school before, and I do not want to do just a regular program before doing a master's degree or something of such, or a college degree. No, I don't want to do that. It does not. What does that bring for me at the end of the day? So then people come to Canada because they feel like I can use my WAEC to come to Canada. I can then apply for a 2-semester course. After that, I get a work permit and I look for a job in that line. So the third thing I'm going to be talking about when it comes to studying in the UK and studying in Canada is the application process of finding an admission in both countries. In the UK, if you're trying to get an admission in the UK, you go online, you look for schools. Where do I want to go to? I want to go to Manchester. I want to go to Scotland. You shop around for schools, and then you apply to several schools without paying a dime. You don't need to pay for application. All you just need to do is you show your interest, you create an account, and then you apply to those schools. Now coming to Canada, it's not the same in Canada. You cannot apply to 10 schools or 15 schools in Canada unless you are, you are very, very, very rich. So when it comes to Canada, when you're applying for schools in Canada, you find out that majority of the schools require you to pay 100 Canadian dollars, or cheaper, it could be 95. I've seen 95. I've seen 75 Canadian dollars. So it's not free to apply for schools here. When you're applying for schools in Canada, you have to pay for your application fee before you can proceed. A lot of people shy away from this because they feel like there's so much uncertainty surrounding this. I don't know if I'm going to get the admission, and then I'm just going to blow away $100 like that. So a lot of people tend to not want to proceed with this because of the uncertainty behind it. And that's one of the main reasons why I feel like a lot of people tend to move to the UK, because they feel like getting an admission is easy peasy. But then when it comes to Canada, you need to wait it out, submit some documentation, and then also pay application fee, which is quite stressful. But in my opinion, I just feel like the end goal is is what matters. If you feel like Canada is the end goal for you, then stick to it, regardless of the fact that you need to pay for application fee. Look for the top schools that suits your budget and then pay the fees and apply for the school and just hope for the best. So my next point, because I don't think I remember the number that I am right now. So my next point is the education cost. That's the tuition fees or cost of schooling abroad. So let's get right onto it. So when also considering schooling in the UK or Canada or abroad, a lot of people tend to, think about the fact that, oh, how much is this school? How much is my budget? The school fees also is one of the, the drive behind where am I going to go to or which country am I going to pick. So in my opinion, what do I think? I think that coming to school abroad at all, there are certain factors that determine, which school would I go to eventually or coming to Canada. And this all determines on the type of school, the ranking of the school, the location of the school, the program that you're coming to do in that certain school, and also some other factors, where the school is situated. Is it in the main town? The higher the main town, the higher the school. That I can assure you. So all of those factors, is a driving factor as to how expensive a school is. And which is why a lot of people are advised, don't school in certain places, go to certain places to school. In UK, they tell you, go to a school in Birmingham, go to a school in Manchester. In fact, go to a school in Wales or Scotland. While in Canada, they tell you, please go to provinces like Manitoba, go to provinces like, British Columbia. There are some schools that are slightly cheaper than coming to places like Ontario or, any expensive provinces to school. So that's one of the factors that I think is a considerable thing that student needs to consider. And also, coming to school in the UK or Canada, both are not cheap. They are not cheap, they are expensive. Coming to the UK, if you're trying to skill in the UK, for a normal range, let's say a beginning range for a course, say you're coming for your master's program, it ranges from £10,000 to £13,000, and that's just for a 1-year course. And it's not even for a school that is in a topmost place. It's probably a place like in Middlesbrough, or a place like it's on all places that are not so, they are not so expensive to live in. When I talk about cost of living, that's like the normal range. Now, coming to the mid-range, we have schools ranging from £13,000 to £16,000. And coming to the highest range, we have schools ranging from £16,000 to £25,000 to £32,000. So there are schools that actually cost much, considering the type of course that you want to do and whether it's a 1-year course or it's a 2-year course. I've seen people do a master's degree that is 2 years and they've had to pay £15,000 for each year. So it's not cheap. MBA courses as well ranges from £10,000 with a scholarship to £15,000. So what I mean by scholarship is that some schools have some certain scholarship that they've set aside for some indigenous international students. I've had people say that they got a scholarship of £5,000 because they are from an African country. So there are some scholarship like that. When you apply for a school, it is very important for you to dig deep to see what if the school is 15,000, how can I get a scholarship to bring it down? Some schools just offer generally 1,500 in scholarship to African students. Some schools have certain type of scholarship by certain people to some certain category. So it will do you well to just go online and look around and look at the website of the school. What scholarship can I apply for after applying to this school to study? So the next thing as well is for Canada. In Canada as well, school is not cheap. And coming to Canada, like I said, depends on the type of school you're coming to, the type of program, and of course, what you intend to do. School fees when it comes to Canada also ranges from 10,000 Canadian dollars to 22,000 Canadian dollars on the lower level. And if you're coming to the higher level, it ranges from 22,000 Canadian dollars to somewhat 56 Canadian dollars. I've seen someone doing a course right now in finance, and the school fees is nothing short of $56,000. So we have schools like that. And the most important thing to note when it comes to Canada is if you're coming to university colleges, that is, you're coming to a college in Canada, not like the college that we know. It is not a secondary school. It's a college, whether you're coming to a college to study for a diploma or graduate certificate or, higher diploma in any course. It ranges from about 16,000 Canadian dollars. At least, at most, it's at par. 16,000 Canadian dollars to 18,000 Canadian dollars. That is for a college. Now imagine coming to a university, a proper university that is not even a college, to do your master's degree. That also ranges from about 18,000 Canadian dollars to much higher, to almost 36,000 Canadian dollars. So it's all about picking your choice, finding what suits your budget, and looking deeply at what you need to do at the end of the day. And one thing I also like to chip in with Canada is if you're coming for a 1-year course, which is a 2-semester course, you're paying 16,000 Canadian dollars. But if you're coming for a 4-semester course, which is a 2-year course, because there are some courses that are strictly 4-semester courses, you would then need to pay 16,000 times 2 of that amount. So that's why I like to advise people that don't be in a rush to quickly pick a 4-semester course if you know you do not have that much money. Just stick to your 2-semester course, which is a year course, and then just pay your fees. So before I round off on tuition, I know that in the UK, when you apply for an admission in the UK, you get your CAS, which is the acceptance of studies or whatever it is. And then when you get your CAS, you are given the information as regards your admission. You are given your first tuition, which is how much you would pay. Say if, for example, if your school is £10,000, you are being asked to pay £5,000 at inception, which is your initial deposit. So majority of those schools ask you to pay your first initial deposit upon entering, and then when you come in, you pay the rest of the fees at a prescribed date as scheduled by the university. Coming to Canada as well, when you get your letter of acceptance, you see in there, it's in depth and it is very, very informative as to how you would pay your school fees. I know that some schools will tell you after the payment of acceptance fee, you have a certain date to pay your next fees. I'm going to use an example of the 2-semester rule. If your course is for 2 semesters, which is for a year is divided into 8 months, 4 months for a semester, 4 months for another semester. You pay your first fee for the first 4 months, and then you pay your next fee in the next 4 months. So now think about it. If your school is 16,000 Canadian dollars and they share 16,000 into 2, you pay your acceptance fee, you minus that from your fees. Imagine how you would be able to meet up to pay in 4 months those 2 fees. So those are the issues and those are the problems. A lot of people run stock because they are still struggling to pay the first fees in the first 4 months, and then they are left alone to pay the next fees in the next 4 months. So that's why I always advise, pick a school within your budget that you know that at the end of the day you would not really struggle to pay the fees. Next thing I'm going to be talking about is cost of living in the UK and cost of living in Canada as an international student. UK, for example, when you are applying or when you are trying to apply for your visas, you are being informed that the cost of living and the cost of living in London is totally different from the cost of living of outside of London. So all of that you need to be able to show proof for when you are applying for your visa. I know that the UKVI sets down some rules that when you're coming to school inside of London, you need to have at least £1,344 per month for 9 months. So that's £1,344 times 9. That's for people coming to live in the UK. And for people that are coming to live outside of UK, you have 1,023 pounds per month for if you're living outside of the UK. And this is how it plays out. So, for example, taking the UK, for example, you apply for a school and your school fee is £10,000. Your school fee is £10,000. You've paid £5,000 of your fees. That is your initial deposit. What the UKVI expect when you are applying for your visa is to have your £5,000 remaining sum and your £1,344 times 9, which is about £12,000, times your £5,000. So you have £5,000, which is your remaining deposit, times £12,000. You calculate that and you keep that in your account for 28 days. The UKVI expects you to have your remainder of your school fees and your cost of living expenses in your account. That is for people in the UK. Anything short of that might, bring about a refusal of your visa, and also might not show competency as to the fact that you are capable of actually coming to school in the UK and also take care of yourself. So that's why they say that, for a family of this, how much do I have to keep in my account? If you're a family of 2, each dependent has to also have their living expenses times 9 months in their account as well, as proof that you can come into the country to study and you can also take care of yourself. For Canada, moving to Canada as well, Canada expects you, or IRCC expects you, to have your remainder of your school fees as well as your living expenses. Living expenses for Canada is static. It is 10,000 Canadian dollars. So Canada expects you to have the remainder of your school fees and your living expenses together with cost of miscellaneous, say your flights as well, just to show that you are solid and you can come into the country to study and capable of, you have the money, you have the funds to come into the country to study. So they expect you to have that. So I'm going to give a scenario as well for Canada. Say, for example, your school fees is 25,000 Canadian dollars. You've paid 5,000 out of your 25,000 Canadian dollars. You have 20,000 Canadian dollars to balance up, and you have 10,000 Canadian dollars as your living expenses, and then your 1.5 million naira as your cost of flight. You sum that up and you keep that up in your account. Canada is not like UK that you put your money for 28 days. You need to put your money in your account till the outcome of your visa, because that's just the way Canada works. You don't beat the system. You don't, except you have a sponsor or some sort of person that's willing to put their bank statement down to show that I have a business that is running and I am capable of sponsoring this person of this full amount. Most importantly as well, if you're coming to Canada for a 2-year course, you don't need to have the full amount of your 2-year study in your bank account. All you just have to do is that you must have a physical sum for your 1-year amount, meaning that for your 1 year, you must have your full amount. But for the remaining 1 year, you must show proof in your statement of purpose or in your letter of explanation, whatever it is that you need to attach to your document, showing proof how you intend to pay for the remainder of the 1 year without any clause. Away from all of this talk about the university, about the applying for visa, in reality, cost of living in both countries is expensive, and inflation is not helping as well. Things are expensive. For you to be able to get a bedroom, like an apartment in the United Kingdom, you need to have about £500 to at least £800 out of London. 500 to 800 pounds out of London for a room. And if I'm talking about moving to central London, we are talking of having £1,000 to 1,008 for you to be able to sustain yourself. How does that meet up with the 1,344 per month? It's just, it just doesn't make any sense. In Canada as well, you have trying to rent an apartment and they're telling you that just a basement, not even a condo or an apartment, goes for 1,008 to 2,003. And if you are moving to the high rises or places like Toronto and Mississauga and all of that, we're talking 2,005 to 3,005. How do a student sustain that? And which is why you see people coming to the issue of finding a roommate or finding persons to live with, so that they can share the burden of living together. And I'm also going to move to food and groceries. Groceries and food are very cheap in the UK. You can spend £150 to £200 in a month stocking your food with egg, bread, meat, fish, all of those things for £150 to £200. But in Canada, it's not the same. You have to have about 600 to 800 Canadian dollars, depending on your family size. Just one person, 600 to 800 Canadian dollars would certainly, at least try to make you comfortable. Unlike in the UK, there are stores, mini stores, Tesco, Sainsbury, Asda, Lidl, and all of those things are there for you. Comparing the prices, you even get cheaper ones. But in Canada, it's not the same. Corner stores are really expensive. You just have to find your way to Walmart, No Frills, and Food Basics and things like that. And you also need to compare prices to see which one is the cheapest. So groceries and food are not cheap in Canada. So don't come with the intention that, oh, it is cheap in Canada. It is not. It is cheaper in the UK. So also mobile internet, mobile phones, and all of that. I'm talking about wireless connection and internet in general. It is cheaper in the UK, but when it comes to Canada, it is not cheap at all. It is slightly on the high side, and it is one of the most expensive in the whole world. So coming as a student into both countries, you need to think about it. Which one? Cost of living, which one would I be able to bear? Don't just put yourself in a situation where all in the name of I got admission, I got a sponsor. What happens after? Are you able to sustain yourself? Are you able to cope? You look deep down and you look at it and you see which one befits you and which one is okay for you, and go for that. Don't try to say that, oh, because this is it will tell. You will feel it. Honestly, you would feel it. And no one is going to come out of their way to come and say, except you miraculously find help from a good Samaritan. No one.